Hey, what's up guys? If you're new here, my name is Andrew and I'm a local realtor here in Indian River County, and today we're going to be talking all about Sebastian, Florida. But not the version that you find on travel blogs or tourism websites. I'm going to be giving you the real insight, the stuff that people don't usually tell you until after you've already moved here. So whether you're thinking of relocating to Florida or you're already somewhere on the Treasure Coast and wondering if Sebastian could be a better fit for your lifestyle or your budget, then this video is for you. And look, Sebastian isn't just some quiet fishing town anymore. A lot has changed over the past few years, and honestly, some of it is for the better, but not all of it. So we're going to be breaking it all down: cost of living, traffic or lack of, local culture, food scene, schools, events, what's going on here and what is growing. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, now one of the main things that people fall in love with when they visit Sebastian is the vibe. So it's laid back, a little quirky, and it doesn't feel polished, but in a very good way. So you're not dealing with the high rises, the overdevelopment, the massive amounts of tourists like in other parts of the state, and it still has that old town, old Florida charm. So you've got that mom and pop shops everywhere, the waterfront tiki bars, the bait shops, and some neighborhoods where it's not unusual to see chickens or goats in someone's backyard. It's very much live and let live out here, but that's kind of starting to shift a little bit. So the Spirit of Sebastian is a community that is a great example as to what's coming. It's the first agri-hood in Indian River County, and what that really means is that Sebastian is getting on people's radar because that's a new kind of style of housing that we're here. More people are moving in, builders are starting to build here, land that's been untouched for decades is starting to get cleared. So while Sebastian still feels like old Florida right now, the writing's on the wall, land's getting cleared, and if that authentic off-the-grid feeling is what you're looking for, then the window to get in before prices spike and the charm gets diluted might be closing faster than you think. But even with the growth, the town is doing a pretty good job of keeping its character intact, at least for now. Now, compared to Vero Beach, Stewart, or especially Palm Beach County, Sebastian is still relatively affordable, but that gap is going to be closing fast. Just a couple years ago, you could easily find move-in ready homes in the $250,000 to $300K range, and these days, that same house might run you $375,000 to $425,000, depending on location and upgrades. Now, new construction, you're probably looking at the mid to high 400s at this point, especially in communities like Spirit of Sebastian. But here's the deal. You still get way more bang for your buck here than almost any other coastal town in Florida, and no HOA in many of the neighborhoods like the Sebastian Highlands. Quarter acre lots are pretty common, and the taxes are still going to be lower than most places, especially if you're coming from the Northeast. Now, if you're waiting around thinking that prices might drop, don't hold your breath. I can't tell you how many times I've thought the same. As more and more people move from higher tax states and work remotely, small towns like Sebastian are on their list. Inventory's tight, the demand is still there. So yeah, it's affordable today, but don't assume that it will stay that way. Now, if you love being on the water, Sebastian is one of the best kept secrets on the East Coast. So you've got direct access to the Indian River Lagoon, which is one of the most biodiverse estuaries in North America. Tons of stuff there with where the tropics start. A lot of the fisheries and everything start to kind of take off in this area. You're starting to see snook where you don't see it very far more north than that. You're starting to see a lot more of the fish that can't handle those cold freezes start to pop up around the Sebastian Inlet area. It's very big for redfish and that sort of deal. We'll get into that in just a second. And there's a reason that fishing is insane here. So like we were saying, snook, redfish, tarpon, you name it, you can catch it inshore. There are multiple public boat ramps, and you're less than 10 to 15 minutes away from the Sebastian Inlet, where you can shoot straight out into the Atlantic. So whether you're into flats fishing, deep sea, or just cruising around with the family, you are going to be covered here. Now, boat culture is big out here. Same goes for kayaks and paddle boards. So you're going to be seeing people launching right from their backyard canals or pulling off onto the side of the road to fish a random little cut that comes through Sebastian. And if that is the kind of lifestyle that is part of your dream, then Sebastian delivers. But if you're more of a city guy or gal, then the idea of living near a bait shop doesn't do anything for you, then this may not be your vibe really at all. All right, guys, now let's be real. If you're looking for bottle service, EDM, club music, or even a row of breweries to hop through on a Friday night, then you are looking into the wrong town, because Sebastian's version of nightlife is a beer Captain Hiram Hirons while a local cover band is playing some of the Jimmy Buffett songs, or a sunset cocktail at Squid Lips with live acoustic music. And that is the pace here, and most people like it that way. So you'll find a few bars scattered throughout town, but everything's pretty mellow. Places close pretty early, and there's not a whole lot going on past 10 p.m. unless it's one of those special events. But what you do get is a tight-knit community. People show up for local events like the Clam Bake Festival, the craft shows, the concerts in the park, and those are your social events. You won't be a stranger for long if you put yourself out there. So yeah, nightlife is minimal, but for a lot of people, that is part of the appeal of Sebastian. Now, for a small town, Sebastian punches way above its weight when it comes to food. You've got a solid mix of local seafood joints, riverfront restaurants, and even a few hidden gems that the locals love and won't tell you about. So Captain Hirons obviously is a staple, but don't sleep on Crab Stop, Mo Bay Grill, or Wasabi Thai. And if you want a casual lunch with a view, then try Blackfin's at the marina, or head on over to Mulligan's. So no, you're not going to find 5-star white tablecloth dining, but fresh seafood, outdoor seating, and cold drinks, it's going to be tough to beat here in Sebastian. And honestly, with Vero Beach being only 25 minutes away or so, if you want that higher end date night or something more upscale, then that is going to be a quick drive for you. So if you're worried about Sebastian being too much small town and the food department, it's not. Just don't expect Miami level dining and you'll be pleasantly surprised. Now, if you're raising kids, you families out there, or planning to, then Sebastian should be on your radar. It's safe, like really safe compared to most of the parts of Florida. Crime is low. People look out for each other. You'll see kids riding bikes through neighborhoods, especially those e-bikes since they came out now. Families out walking dogs, and a lot of people who still wave whenever you pass by. Now, public schools are okay. They're not the best in the state, but they're not the worst. And you've got some nearby charter and private options if you want more structure. Now, one underrated aspect of Sebastian is how calm everything is. There's not a lot of hustle and chaos. So if your goal is to raise a family somewhere, a little bit slower pace, but still connected to the outdoors and community events, then it fits the bill. Plus, there's a good variety of parks, sports leagues, and even big dog parks along the river in Vero, and then also within the town. And it's one of those places where your kids can grow up knowing their neighbors, and that's getting harder and harder to find in Florida. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the stuff that no one really likes to bring up whenever they're trying to sell you on Florida living. So first up is going to be bugs. So Sebastian is bug central in the summer. Mosquitoes, no-see-ums, and love bugs, especially near the river or any standing water. And if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, it can be annoying fast, and you'll want to invest in a screened-in patio like what I'm standing in, or at least have a good bug spray ready. Now, I will say the little caveat to that is when dealing with the no-see-ums, they tend to kind of stick right on the river. So if you're not living on the river with your own boat lift or dock, then you typically don't find those around. If you go on a morning walk on the river with very still air, then that is where you're going to be getting bombarded by these no-see-ums. But positive little information there. If you're looking into the Sebastian Highlands a little bit further out west, you typically don't deal with them. You just get your run-of-the-mill mosquitoes, which are a little bit easier to deal with in my opinion, because the no-see-ums just look at that bug spray as more of an invitation to come in and bite you even harder, because I just have a feeling that they get kind of pissed at that scent and then go after and target you even harder, which is kind of crazy to think about, but that's what they do. Now, second, flooding and insurance. So most of Sebastian, especially in the Highlands, is not in a flood zone, but certain pockets are, especially near the river or some older neighborhoods with poor elevation. Now, flood insurance is becoming a bigger deal in Florida, getting a little bit more expensive, and rates are creeping up. So if you're shopping homes, don't skip the elevation certificate, and don't forget to ask us, if you're going to use one of us as your realtor, part of this team, that is one thing that we make sure that we do as far as due diligence for you, is looking to see if these homes fall into a flood zone, because a lot of the times the realtor.com flood ratings 1 to 10 is not very comparable to what the FEMA flood maps are, and that is what the insurance companies go off of when they decide if you are going to be paying flood insurance or not. Now, thirdly is going to be employment and income. Now, this is a retirement friendly town or a place for remote workers, but if you're younger and you need a strong local job market, then it might be tough in here, because wages in the service industry are low and they aren't a ton of white collar jobs. A lot of people commute to Vero or even Melbourne whenever living here. And then lastly, we're going to talk about growth. So Sebastian is growing, which is a good thing in some ways, but it's also bringing in more traffic, higher prices, and eventually more regulation and oversight. Now, things are still pretty chill right now, but don't assume it'll always be this way. So here's the full truth. Sebastian, Florida is still one of the most underrated coastal towns in the state, but it's not going to stay that way. It offers the kind of lifestyle that kind of is getting harder and harder to find around Florida. Slower pace, access to the water, low crime, decent affordability, and a strong sense of community, but it's not for everybody. Trust me when I say it's not for everyone. A lot of people are going to be turned off by how small it really is, but then remember that Vero Beach is just right down the road if you ever get that itch to do something a little bit more. But even Vero all in itself is lacking a lot of things that most people are wanting. Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, as far as grocery stores, nightlife, things to do, kids activities. My wife and I are trying to solve that by opening up an indoor playground in the Vero Beach outlet malls. We're still kind of in talks with that. With that being said and done, hopefully it's going to bring a little bit more life to Sebastian and Vero Beach as a whole. Now, if you need that nonstop distraction, big nightlife, or high-paying local jobs, this probably is not going to be your place. But if you're looking for peace, space, and an actual chance to breathe again, then Sebastian might be exactly what you're after. And if you're thinking about making a move or even just want to know more about the different communities here, then my team and I can help. I've helped plenty of people relocate to this area, and I know which neighborhoods are worth your time and which ones that you might want to avoid. So if you reach out to us, we'll be sure to help you narrow that down. Now, my contact information is on the screen. Feel free to call, text, or email anytime. And if Sebastian doesn't feel like the right fit, then we work with clients across all of Florida. So whether you're looking for something more affordable, something on the water, or new construction with some incentives and price reductions, then we've got connections statewide. Now, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye.